The molecular disintegrator was charging with that distinctive high-pitched whine that made every species in the galaxy instinctively freeze. Station Commander Zelax watched through the security feed as the Velkari terrorist pressed the weapon directly against the human diplomat's temple, his three-fingered hand trembling with either fear or rage. Around the Grand Diplomatic Hall, delegates from 47 species were scrambling for exits, their various appendages tangling in their panic to escape what everyone knew was about to be the first murder at a galactic peace summit in 3,000 years. Everyone except Emma Johnson, apparently, who was using her free hand to adjust her ponytail. "Sir, we need to evacuate the entire sector," Zilax's security chief said, mandibles clicking with stress. "Molecular disintegrators have a 100% fatality rate. Once he fires, the cascade effect could—" "I'm aware of the specifications," Zilax snapped, his three eyes locked on the screen. The human woman looked bored. Actually bored. The terrorist was screaming demands about territorial disputes in the Outer Rim, and she was checking her fingernails. According to YouTube analytics, 99.6% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content. "Station Command, this is Ambassador Talana," his comm crackled. "We are implementing full evacuation protocols. That human is already dead. She just doesn't know it yet. We cannot risk—" Emma's voice cut through the terrorists' ranting, amplified by the hall's sound system. "Hey, are you almost done? Because I have a lunch meeting in 20 minutes, and I'd really like to at least pretend I tried to be on time." The entire command center went silent. The terrorist stopped mid-sentence, his lateral eyes blinking in confusion. "Did she just—" Zilax's security chief couldn't finish the sentence. Emma turned her head slightly, a movement that should have been impossible with a molecular disintegrator pressed to her skull, and looked directly at the terrorist. "Seriously, dude, you've been yelling for like 5 minutes. Are you making a point, or is this just therapy for you?" The terrorist's hand tightened on the weapon. The charging whine peaked. Every monitoring system in the command center screamed warnings. "He's going to fire," someone whispered. Zilax couldn't look away. In his 40 years of security command, he'd seen exactly 3 molecular disintegrator incidents. All 3 had resulted in complete molecular dissolution of the target within 0.3 seconds. There were no survivors. There had never been survivors. The physics simply didn't allow for survivors. The terrorist pulled the trigger. The beam was visible on the security feed, a coherent stream of molecular disruption energy, confirmed at full power by every sensor in the station. It hit Emma Johnson directly in the head at point-blank range. The energy readings spiked, the cascade effect initialized. Emma reached up and brushed something off her shoulder. "Okay," she said, her voice now carrying a distinct edge of annoyance. "That was actually kind of rude." The command center erupted in chaos. Alarms were blaring contradictory information. The medical sensors insisted they had just recorded a death. The security sensors confirmed the weapon had fired at full power. The visual feed clearly showed Emma Johnson standing there, now examining her jacket with a frown. "There's a burn mark on my jacket," she said, turning to face the terrorist fully. The Velkari was staring at his weapon like it had betrayed him. "Do you know how hard it is to find clothes that fit properly on a station designed for species with 4 arms? This was custom made." The terrorist fired again, and again, and again. Emma's frown deepened with each shot. "Are you listening to me? I'm trying to have a conversation about basic courtesy here." "This is impossible," Zilax heard himself say. "The weapon is functioning. The readings confirm full power discharge. There should be nothing left of her." A second terrorist emerged from behind one of the ornamental pillars, also armed with a molecular disintegrator. Emma noticed him and sighed. "Oh, come on! There's 2 of you? Is this like a team-building exercise or something?" The second terrorist raised his weapon. Emma walked toward him, not quickly. Just a casual stroll across the diplomatic hall while the first terrorist was still firing at her back. She reached the second terrorist, who was frozen in shock, and casually backhanded his weapon. The molecular disintegrator, a weapon designed to survive the vacuum of space and direct plasma hits, crumpled like paper in her hand. "These are really not as sturdy as they look," Emma observed, dropping the twisted metal. She turned to address both terrorists. "Look, I get it. Political tensions, territorial disputes, the whole bit, but we were literally in the middle of signing a peace treaty. Could you have picked worse timing?" The second terrorist made a squeaking sound and fainted. "Emergency xenobiological team to command, now!" Zilax was shouting into his comm. Around him, his staff were frantically trying to make sense of readings that contradicted known physics. The council representatives had stopped evacuating and were now crowded around their own screens, watching in stunned silence. "Sir, the Galactic Threat Assessment Team is requesting immediate deployment authorization," his security chief reported. "Granted. Get Kael'thas here. Now." Emma had walked back to her original position and was trying to smooth out the burn mark on her jacket. The first terrorist was still holding his weapon, but his hands were shaking so badly the targeting system had disengaged. "You know what?" Emma said to him. "I'm going to give you exactly 10 seconds to put that down and surrender, because clearly it's not working, and I really do have that lunch meeting." The terrorist dropped the weapon and put his hands up. "Thank you," Emma said brightly. She turned toward one of the active security cameras. "Station security? You guys can probably come get these two now. And if someone could check on the one who fainted, I think I might have scared him." Might have scared him, Zilax thought numbly. She casually survived multiple molecular disintegration attempts and thinks she might have scared someone. Kael'thas arrived in the command center 8 minutes later, his silver carapace still gleaming with the condensation from rapid transport. He was widely considered the galaxy's leading expert on Deathworld species and extreme threat assessment. "Show me the footage," he demanded, skipping all pleasantries. They showed him. All of it. Kael'thas watched in silence, his sensor stalks extending and retracting in what Zilax recognized as deep concentration. When the footage ended, he replayed it. Then again. "The weapons functioned correctly," he finally said. "Full power, proper cascade initialization, optimal targeting. By every physical law we understand, that human should have been reduced to component atoms." "Then why isn't she?" Zilax asked. Kael'thas pulled up a file on the command center's main display. "Emma Johnson, cultural liaison, native of Earth." He paused. "Earth is classified as a Class 12 Deathworld." The command center went quiet. Class 12 was the highest survivable rating. Most Class 10 worlds were considered too dangerous for sustained colonization. "Define Class 12 for those of us who don't memorize threat assessments," Ambassador Talana said from her position near the back. Kael'thas manipulated the display, bringing up Earth's environmental data. Atmospheric composition includes free oxygen at toxic levels. Surface experiences regular tectonic disruptions. Weather systems generate wind speeds capable of demolishing structures. Precipitation includes dihydrogen monoxide falling from the sky. "Water," Emma's voice crackled over the comm. Someone had patched her through. "He means rain. You guys are terrified of rain?" "The pH variance in Earth's precipitation would be classified as acid rain on most worlds," Kael'thas continued, unperturbed. "The planet experiences regular bombardment from space debris. Solar radiation levels fluctuate dangerously. Native species have evolved to not only survive, but thrive in conditions that would be considered apocalyptic scenarios on civilized worlds." Emma laughed. It was a genuine, surprised laugh. "Acid rain, it's rain. Fish live in the oceans. Birds fly in the air. It's fine. Your oceans have a salinity and chemical composition that would dissolve most species' cellular structures," Kael'thas said. But fish live there, Emma repeated, now sounding confused. Like millions of fish. They're fine. We swim in it. I learned to swim when I was 6. Zilax watched Kael'thas's sensor stalks droop slightly, the equivalent of a human rubbing their temples. Ms. Johnson, the point is that humans evolved on a world where safe and survivable mean something very different than they do for the rest of the galaxy. Okay, but that doesn't explain why your weapons didn't work. Actually, a new voice entered the conversation, it might. Azila, the station's senior xenobiologist, pushed her way into the command center. She was already pulling up data on a portable display. I've been reviewing human physiological data since the incident. Commander, with your permission. Zilax gestured for her to continue. At this point, any explanation would be welcome. Humans have an extraordinary cellular regeneration rate, Azila began, projecting her findings for everyone to see. We knew this, but we categorized it as enhanced healing and moved on. What we didn't understand was the mechanism. Human cells are in a constant state of damage and repair because their environment is in a constant state of trying to kill them. The rain thing again, Emma asked over the comm. Among many other things, yes, Azila said patiently. Ms. Johnson, what's the background radiation level on Earth? I have no idea. Normal? Azila displayed a comparison chart. What humans consider normal background radiation would require protective equipment on 70% of inhabited worlds. You're constantly being bombarded by radiation that damages cellular structures. Your bodies have evolved to repair this damage faster than it accumulates. Okay, Emma said slowly. So a molecular disintegrator works by disrupting molecular bonds at a specific rate, Kael'thas said, his sensor stalk suddenly standing erect. By the infinite void. The weapon was working. She was being damaged. She was just healing faster than the weapon could destroy her. The command center fell silent as the implications sank in. You're telling me, Ambassador Talana said carefully, that humans regenerate tissue faster than a molecular disintegrator can destroy it. Not just tissue, Azila said, her enthusiasm for the science overcoming her shock. All molecular structures. Ms. Johnson, can you do me a favor? Do you have something sharp nearby? I have a pen. Can you prick your finger with it? Just a small cut. There was a pause. Okay, done. It's bleeding a little. Describe what's happening. It's stopping. The bleeding stopped. Wait, the cut's closing. It's gone. That was maybe 30 seconds. Emma's voice was puzzled. Is that not normal? No, Azila said flatly. That is extremely not normal. Most species would take hours to close a wound like that, and it would leave scarring. Your cellular regeneration rate is approximately 200 times faster than galactic average. But everyone on Earth is like this, Emma protested. We all heal from cuts and stuff. Yes, Kael'thas said quietly. You all do, your entire species, because you come from a world where anything slower would have been evolutionarily eliminated. Zilax looked at the security feed showing Emma standing in the diplomatic hall, now surrounded by very nervous security officers who were clearly unsure how to process a prisoner who could survive molecular disintegration. The 2 terrorists were already in custody, both requiring psychological evaluation. So what you're saying, Zilax said slowly, is that humans are functionally immune to one of the most lethal weapons in the galaxy because their planet is so horrifically dangerous that they evolved to survive worse things on a daily basis. That's exactly what I'm saying, Azila confirmed. Worse things? Emma's voice was incredulous. What's worse than being shot with a molecular whatever? Ms. Johnson, you mentioned swimming in Earth's oceans, Azila said. What else lives in those oceans? Fish, whales, dolphins, sharks, jellyfish. Sharks? Kael'thas interrupted, rapidly searching his database. Apex predators with razor-sharp teeth, capable of speeds up to 50 kilometers per hour, routinely attack and consume large prey. Yeah, but shark attacks are pretty rare. You're way more likely to get struck by lightning. Every alien in the command center turned to stare at the comm unit. Lightning, Zilak said. Atmospheric electrical discharges carrying millions of volts. Yeah, there's a storm season back home. You learn to just stay inside when it gets bad. My hometown gets tornadoes sometimes too, but that's only like a couple times a year. Tornadoes, Azila said faintly, pulling up Earth weather data. Rotating columns of air with wind speeds exceeding 300 kilometers per hour, capable of demolishing anything in their path. Well, yeah, that's why we have storm cellars. It's not that big a deal if you're prepared. Zilax realized he was gripping his command console hard enough to dent the metal. Ms. Johnson, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I need to ask you a very important question. Sure. How is your species not extinct? There was a long pause. Then Emma laughed again, that same confused, genuine laugh. Because we're pretty adaptable? Look, I don't know what you want me to say. Earth is just Earth. It's home. Sure, it's got weather and animals and geography, but that's just normal stuff. You learn to deal with it. Everyone does. Everyone on Earth, Kyle Thos muttered, a planet that would kill most species within hours. Ambassador Talana, Zilak said, making a decision. I'm calling an emergency council session. We need to completely revise our threat assessment protocols for humans. Agreed, Talana said. We also need to address the security implications. If humans can survive molecular disintegration, then they can survive almost anything, Kyle Thos finished. Commander Zilax, I strongly recommend that human presence be requested at all future high-security negotiations. As a security measure? As a deterrent. Anyone planning violence will now know that humans are essentially indestructible by conventional weapons. Plus, they seem to have a natural talent for de-escalation through sheer confusion. I heard that, Emma said over the comm. And for the record, I would like to file a complaint about my jacket. Also, can someone confirm whether my lunch meeting is still happening? Because I'm getting really hungry, and when humans get hungry, we get cranky. What happens when humans get cranky? Someone asked nervously. We just get a bit irritable, maybe snap at people, nothing major. Ms. Johnson, Azila said carefully, given what we now know about your species' capabilities, I think we'd all prefer to keep you well-fed and content. Finally, someone's making sense. There's a great noodle place on the commerce level. I'll have food delivered to the diplomatic suite, Zilax interrupted quickly. Immediately. Multiple options. Please don't go anywhere just yet. Cool. Can you include that Zentari place? They make these dumpling things that are amazing. Zilax gestured frantically at his staff, who scrambled to place the food orders. On the screen, Emma had pulled out a small device, her personal comm, and was scrolling through messages, completely unconcerned that she'd just survived multiple assassination attempts and broken several fundamental laws of physics. The emergency council session convened 4 hours later, after Emma had eaten, assured everyone she was fine, and provided a detailed statement about the incident that mostly consisted of her being confused about why everyone was so worked up. The 2 terrorists had been transferred to medical facilities for psychiatric evaluation. Both were catatonic, muttering about unkillable Deathworlders and the end of rational thought. The chair recognizes xenobiologist Azila, the council speaker announced. Azila stood, her display showing the data she'd compiled. Esteemed council members, I present the case for immediate reclassification of human threat potential. We have operated under the assumption that Class 12 Deathworld natives, while hardy, still operate within known biological parameters. Today's incident proves this assumption catastrophically wrong. She pulled up comparative data. Humans don't just survive their environment, they thrive in it. Their bodies are built to withstand constant assault from radiation, chemical exposure, atmospheric pressure variations, thermal extremes, and biological threats that would overwhelm our medical technology. What we call extreme survival traits, they call normal childhood. What are you proposing? Another council member asked. A new classification system. Humans should not be compared to other species. They should be classified as a category unto themselves. I propose we designate them as Class 12 Alpha, Deathworld natives with adaptive regeneration capabilities. That seems excessive, someone objected. Kael'thas stood. With respect, it's not excessive enough. I've spent the last 4 hours reviewing human history databases, the ones they freely share, mind you. Do you know what humans do for recreation? He pulled up images. They jump out of aircraft for fun. They climb mountains where the air is too thin to breathe and the temperature can kill in minutes. They swim with apex predators. They run marathons, sustained physical exertion that would hospitalize most species, for enjoyment. They have a sport called rugby, where the objective appears to be causing blunt force trauma to opponents. That can't be right, someone said. I have video documentation. They also have a food category called spicy, which involves consuming chemical compounds that cause pain receptors to fire. They consider this pleasurable. The council chamber filled with alarmed murmurs. Furthermore, Kael'thas continued, humans have colonized every biome on their planet. Deserts, tundra, rainforests, mountains, coastal regions, environments that would require extensive life support for us are considered livable to them. They adapt. Constantly. It's not just physical, it's cultural, technological, social. They evolved on a world that never stopped trying to kill them, so they never stopped learning how to survive. Ambassador Talana stood. I move that we implement immediate protective protocols. Any human presence on council stations or vessels should be accompanied by full briefings on their capabilities, dedicated liaisons, and, she paused, comprehensive food service. Food service? Someone asked. Did you not hear Ms. Johnson's comment about getting cranky when hungry? Given what we now know about human capabilities, I suggest we never find out what a cranky human is truly capable of. The motion passed unanimously. 3 days later, Emma Johnson's personnel file received several updates. Her security clearance was raised to level 9, typically reserved for council members. Her file now included a prominent warning: Class 12 Alpha Deathworld native. Exercise extreme caution. Approach with respect and maintain regular food supply. Diplomatic protocols were rewritten to include provisions for human presence at security-critical negotiations. The phrase, "humans don't die easily," became a common deterrent in threat assessment briefings. Sales of molecular disintegrators dropped 40% as word spread about their ineffectiveness against humans. Emma, for her part, remained blissfully unaware of most of these changes. She was too busy preparing for the next round of trade negotiations, reviewing documents while eating takeout from 6 different station restaurants. Her jacket had been replaced. The station commander had personally authorized the expense and added clothing damage hazard pay to her contract. When asked during an interview how it felt to have survived multiple assassination attempts, Emma had shrugged. Honestly, the worst part was missing my lunch meeting. Everything else was just annoying. Like, I get that political violence is a thing, but there's a time and place. We were literally about to sign a peace treaty. The interviewer had carefully not mentioned that the peace treaty had been signed immediately after the incident, with all 47 species suddenly very motivated to avoid any situation that might upset the humans. Emma filed the interview under weird station stuff and went back to work, already thinking about dinner. Behind her, galactic civilization quietly restructured itself around the reality that humanity, strange, adaptable, inexplicably cheerful humanity, had arrived, and nothing would ever be quite the same. Somewhere in the command center, Zilax updated his personal log. Day 847 of human integration. They still think rain is normal. I've stopped trying to understand. Just keep them fed and happy, for all our sakes.